Overview of Law Number 2. Never put too much trust in friends. Learn how to use enemies. Keep a close eye on your friends. They easily become envious and resentful and will undermine you. In contrast, if you promote an enemy, he'll be more loyal than a friend in an effort to prove himself. So use your enemies. If you lack enemies, you should create some. Never put too much trust in friends. Learn how to use enemies. Principles of Law 2. We instinctively turn to friends when we need help, but you should think twice about doing this because you don't know your friends as well as you think you do. Friends often agree with whatever you say to avoid an argument. Also, when you're friends, you cover up negative qualities so as not to offend the other person. As a result, you never know for certain how a friend truly feels. Never put too much trust in friends. When you're in a position of power, beware of hiring a friend. Hiring friends weakens you because your friend is rarely the one who can help you the most. You need skill and competence more than friendship. Also, friendly feelings can get in the way of what needs to be done. If you hire a friend, you'll discover the qualities he or she has kept hidden. In addition, your act of kindness will unbalance the relationship. Receiving a favor from you may begin to feel burdensome. People want to feel they've earned their way. Their resentment will surface slowly in flashes of honesty, envy, and bitterness. If you try to mend the relationship with more favors, you'll make matters worse. Never put too much trust in friends. Learn how to use enemies. Enemies can be more useful than friends when you can co-opt them. The key to choosing which ones is gauging who is best able to further your interests. When you can overcome past grievances and enlist an enemy in your service, he can be a great resource. Other uses for enemies include keeping you on your toes. Without enemies, you get lazy. An enemy at your heels keeps you alert and focused. Thus, it's better to maintain some enemies as enemies rather than converting them into allies. Enhancing your reputation among followers, you can use enemies to portray yourself as a fighter for the people. In any case, don't worry about having open opposition. You're better off with a declared opponent whom you can possibly convert than with hidden enemies. Putting to work Law 2. Here are some examples of leaders turning enemies into allies. They never put too much trust in friends, learning how to use enemies instead. Talleyrand, Napoleon's foreign minister, needed an ally to help him thwart Napoleon when he decided his boss was leading France to ruin. He turned to Fouché, the head of the secret police who had previously tried to assassinate him. Talleyrand knew Fouché would work to prove himself, and they shared a mutual self-interest in undercutting Napoleon. While they didn't succeed against Napoleon at the time, they developed a relationship that proved to be profitable later. Secretary of State Henry Kissinger made a policy of co-opting those who disagreed with him. When some anti-war activists plotted to kidnap him, he won them over when he secretly met with them and shared his plans for getting U.S. troops out of Vietnam. Colleagues often commented that Kissinger got along better with his enemies than his friends. Chinese Emperor Sung converted an enemy into an ally by doing something unexpected. The enemy King Shu had conspired to oust him. Sung invited him to the royal palace where Shu thought he would be punished. After wining and dining him, however, Sung sent Shu home with a package. When Shu opened it, he found evidence documenting his conspiracy against Sung. He realized he was being spared and became one of Sung's most loyal followers. Never put too much trust in friends. Learn how to use enemies. Exceptions to Law 2. Although it's important to focus on converting your enemies to your service, there are some tasks for which a friend can be more useful. For instance, when you need someone to do dirty work, your friends are often willing to take risks for you. And they're convenient fall guys if something goes wrong. Of course, since you'll end up losing a friend, choose someone close to you but not too important as your potential scapegoat. But in general, remember Law 2, never put too much trust in friends. Learn how to use enemies. Overview of Law Number 3, conceal your intentions. Always conceal your intentions. If you keep people off balance and in the dark, they can't counter your efforts. Send them down the wrong path with a red herring or create a smokescreen, and by the time they realize what you're up to, it will be too late for them to interfere. Principle number 1 of Law 3, use decoys and red herrings. To conceal your intentions, take preemptive action to mislead by using decoys and red herrings. Use tools such as fake sincerity, ambiguity, and lures, and people won't be able to differentiate the genuine from the false to see your goal. Many people wear their feelings on their sleeves. And when it comes to plans and intentions, they're quick to tell all at the slightest provocation. People tend to be open books because talking about feelings and intentions comes naturally. Watching your mouth, monitoring and controlling what you say takes effort. In addition, they believe honesty and openness will win people over. However, honesty has distinct downsides. Rather than being an appealing characteristic, honesty is likely to offend people. It's often better to tell people what they want to hear rather than the less flattering truth. If you're totally honest and open, people won't respect or fear you because you'll be predictable. To wield power, you need others' respect and fear. In contrast, you can gain and maintain the upper hand by concealing your intentions. Fortunately, concealing your intentions is easy because it's human nature to trust appearances. The alternative of doubting the reality of what you see and hear, imagining there's always something else behind it, is too exhausting. So present a decoy or red herring, something phony that's intended to attract attention and thus mislead, and people will take the appearance for reality and won't notice what you're really doing. For instance, you can divert attention from your true goals by making it look as though you support an idea or cause you previously opposed publicly. Most people will believe you had a true change of heart because people don't usually change sides frivolously. Conversely, you can pretend to want something you're not actually interested in, and your opponents will be confused and miscalculate. In 1711, the Duke of Marlborough, head of the English army, wanted to destroy a French fort because it blocked the route he wanted to use to invade France. His decoy was to capture the fort and add some soldiers to make it look like he wanted to maintain and strengthen the fort. The French attacked and he let them recapture it. When they had it back, they destroyed it to keep it out of the Duke's hands. Once it was gone, the Duke marched easily into France. This is the advantage of concealing your intentions. Try false sincerity to conceal your intentions. Besides broadcasting a fake goal, you can use false sincerity as a red herring to throw people off the scent. People are likely to mistake it for honesty because they trust appearances and want to believe others are honest. Appearing to believe what you say adds authority to your words. For example, Iago destroyed Othello by appearing to be deeply concerned about Desdemona's supposed infidelity. Othello trusted his false sincerity. Don't overdo your fake sincerity, however, or you'll arouse suspicions. To make it even more effective, publicly stress the importance of being honest as a social value. Underscore your supposed honesty by revealing something seemingly personal but fake or irrelevant once in a while. Putting decoys to work to conceal your intentions. Otto von Bismarck, as a deputy in the Prussian parliament, succeeded in his aim of going to war by using a decoy. In the mid-1800s, the country debated unifying many states into one and are going to war against Austria, which was trying to keep Germany divided and weak. King Frederick William IV and his ministers opposed war, preferring to appease Austria. But Prince William and most Prussians favored it. Bismarck also favored war, as everyone knew. But he thought it was the wrong time to fight. Germany needed time to strengthen its army. So to distract Austria and others from his true goal, he gave a speech against war and even praised Austria. Everyone was confused, but war was averted for the moment, and the king made him a cabinet minister, which positioned him to start strengthening the army and developing political allies. Eventually, Bismarck became Prussian premier and led the country to defeat Austria and unify Germany. Bismarck knew the value of concealing your intentions. Principle number 2 of Law 3, use smokescreens. The second sub-law of 48 Laws of Power. Law 3, conceal your intentions, is to use smokescreens. An effective way to deceive people is to conceal your intentions behind a comfortable and familiar facade, a smokescreen that you create. One of the most effective smokescreens is assuming a bland expression and manner. It lulls your target into complacency and he doesn't notice he's heading into a trap. You might expect skillful deceivers to be charismatic people who use elaborate stories to mislead. But the best deceivers create a mild, low-key front. Use familiar scenarios and actions, a smokescreen, to lull your targets into complacency and trust. Once you get the sucker's attention with something familiar, he won't notice the real deception. It works because people can focus on only one thing at a time. They don't suspect that the innocuous person they're dealing with is setting them up for a fall. By contrast, a decoy is set up to attract your attention in an obvious way, as opposed to the way a smokescreen essentially lulls you to sleep or into a state of inattention. The simplest form of smokescreen is a blank facial expression. For example, in negotiations, Secretary of State Henry Kissinger used a monotonous voice, blank expression, and repetition of details to lull those he negotiated with. Then suddenly he would unveil a list of forceful demands, catching them off guard and intimidating them. Kissinger knew that to get what you want, you need to conceal your intentions. Smokescreen tactics to conceal your intentions. Smokescreens can be employed in several ways, using psychological weaknesses to achieve distraction and misdirection. 1. Make a seemingly noble gesture. People like noble gestures, they create good feelings all around. People want to believe they're genuine and miss the fact that a noble gesture can conceal other purposes. For example, the creation of the National Gallery of Art in Washington, D.C. in 1937 looked like a noble gesture by wealthy people who donated their paintings. However, there was more to it. An art dealer, Joseph Devine, helped create the museum by getting Andrew Mellon to donate his collection to it. Other donors followed. But in reality, Devine was solving another problem. He was having trouble selling more paintings because rich buyers were running out of display space in their mansions. Getting others to donate their paintings was a smokescreen to solve Devine's problem by clearing wall space for more purchases from him. The donations also reduced the number of paintings on the market, which pushed up prices. 2. Create a pattern that serves as a smokescreen. Do a series of things that convince your target you're going in a particular direction. This is a great way of concealing your intentions. Psychologically, people expect behavior to follow patterns. When they identify a pattern, they feel comfortable anticipating the next step. Then you catch them off guard by breaking the pattern, which achieves your real purpose. You've lulled them into expecting the opposite of what you're really intending. For example, in 1878, robber baron Jay Gould intended to take over the telegraph company Western Union. He succeeded by first creating a pattern of events that served as a smokescreen, distracting attention from his purpose. He created a company that competed with Western Union, so the bigger company's directors bought him out. Gould then started another competing company and Western Union bought out that one too. He'd set up a now familiar pattern of seeming to want payoffs, and Western Union directors were caught off guard when he launched his successful takeover bid. 3. Exploit the human tendency to mistake appearance for reality. Seem to blend into a group. If you do it well, you won't arouse suspicions and can use your cover to pursue your real purpose. For example, during the Cold War, British civil servants went undetected as they passed secrets to the Soviets. It worked because they fit seamlessly into the old boy establishment. Blending in is a time-honored smokescreen for spying. Creating a bland persona and making yourself inconspicuous requires patience and restraint. You have to suppress the urge to brag or stand out in any way. But your inscrutability creates an impression of power. Putting Law 3 to work. Example number 1. Joseph Weil, an early 1900s con artist known as the Yellow Kid, used a purported business deal to lure Chicago businessman Sam Giesel into an elaborate trap. Giesel thought he was participating in a deal in which he would buy property from a group of wealthy men at a low price, then resell it at a high price and split the proceeds with his supposed co-conspirator, Weil. As the deal was being wrapped up at a meeting with the wealthy property owners, Weil introduced his real purpose, a scheme to defraud Giesel by getting him to bet the money he was using to buy the property on a boxing match, which Weil would fix. The match was indeed fixed, but in a different way. The boxer who was supposed to win took a supposedly errant punch and didn't get up. Fearing that the boxer had been killed and not wanting to be implicated in a crime, Giesel fled the scene, leaving his money behind. But Weil had faked the boxer's death, and he and the others kept Giesel's money. The purported business deal was the smokescreen to distract Giesel's attention and lull him into complacency. Putting Law 3 to work. Example number 2. In the 1920s, a young Ethiopian leader, Haile Selassie, used apparent innocence to disarm a military leader who conspired against him. He invited the military leader Balcha to a banquet. Balcha brought along his army, which he parked outside the capital before proceeding to the banquet with 600 elite soldiers. Selassie was charming and deferential, and Balcha thought he could be easily deposed. However, when Balcha headed back to his camp to plan Selassie's ouster, he discovered his troops were gone. While Selassie had distracted Balcha with the banquet, Selassie's troops surrounded Balcha's army. They bought up the weapons with gold, and Balcha's forces scattered. Balcha surrendered and agreed to enter a monastery. This is the power of concealing your intentions. Exceptions to Law 3. Are there any exceptions to 48 Laws of Power? Law 3. Conceal your intentions? Diversionary tactics don't work if you're already known to be a deceiver. The more success you've had in the past, the harder it is to continue disguising your intentions. To overcome this hurdle, admit your past behavior and pretend to be repentant. You may be admired for your candidness, and you can continue your deceptions. Diversionary tactics don't always have to be subtle. Occasionally a conspicuous gesture is effective. For example, the charlatans of 17th and 18th century Europe put on huge circus-type shows using humor and entertainment to distract from their purpose, which was to sell quack potions and elixirs. However, spectacles have limits. Eventually, the public catches on to the purpose. And so when they'd worn out their welcome, the charlatans moved on to the next town. By contrast, you can employ the mild-mannered demeanor to deceive people indefinitely. Remember Law 3, conceal your intentions. Certainly, the fourth law in the 48 Laws of Power is titled Always Say Less Than Necessary. This law emphasizes the importance of practicing restraint in communication and reveals how the strategic use of silence and concise speech can enhance one's power and influence. Key points of Law 4, always say less than necessary. 1. The power of mystery. This law centers on the concept that by saying less, you create an aura of mystery around yourself. People are naturally curious and will be drawn to fill in the gaps, making them more attentive to your words. 2. Avoiding vulnerability. Sharing too much information can leave you vulnerable to manipulation or exploitation by others. Saying less helps you retain control over the narrative and prevents others from gaining an advantage. 3. Enhancing listening skills. When you speak less, you have the opportunity to listen more. This allows you to gather information, analyze situations, and better understand the motives and intentions of others. 4. Building intrigue and interest. By carefully choosing your words and revealing only partial information, you can generate curiosity and interest in your message, making others eager to learn more from you. 5. Avoiding arguments and misinterpretation. Excessive speech can lead to misunderstandings and arguments. Saying less reduces the chances of being misinterpreted or inadvertently causing conflicts. 6. Leveraging the unspoken. What you do not say can often carry as much weight as what you do say. The unspoken can create tension, convey power, and influence decisions. Historical examples. Green illustrates the fourth law with historical anecdotes. A. Thomas Jefferson. Jefferson was known for his eloquence and careful use of words. He used silence strategically during political debates, allowing his adversaries to underestimate him while he formulated effective arguments. B. Cardinal de Retz. The French cardinal used his ability to say less to create an air of mystery and intrigue, drawing people in and making them curious about his intentions. C. Queen Elizabeth I. The Queen often used her silence and ambiguous statements to keep her advisors and courtiers on their toes, allowing her to maintain control and manipulate situations to her advantage. Practical application. To apply this law effectively, individuals should choose your words wisely, be deliberate in your speech, focusing on conveying essential information without unnecessary elaboration. Practice active listening. By listening more and speaking less, you can gain valuable insights into the thoughts and intentions of others, which can be used to your advantage. Maintain a calm demeanor. When faced with questions or pressure to speak, remain composed and avoid revealing more than is necessary. Use silence strategically in negotiations or discussions. Consider pausing before responding. This can create anticipation and highlight the weight of your words. Craft enigmatic statements. Use vague or open-ended statements to pique curiosity and prompt others to seek clarification or more information. Conclusion. Law 4 in the 48 Laws of Power underscores the power of restraint in communication and highlights how strategic use of silence and concise speech can enhance one's presence and influence. By saying less than necessary, individuals can create an air of mystery, build intrigue, and maintain control over information. As with all the laws in the book, it's crucial to approach the application of this law ethically and thoughtfully, ensuring that communication is used to enhance understanding and collaboration rather than to manipulate or deceive.